Thank you for joining us for part 4 of our series of studies on Galatians. Today we're looking at chapter 2, verses 11 through 21, in a section our Serendipity Bible titles Paul's Gospel. What exactly is Paul's Gospel? Well, it's actually not his gospel. It's the gospel of Jesus Christ, but Jesus has given Paul this teaching, and Paul is insisting that it be kept pure and holy, untouched by human opinion or by human conditions. What is that gospel? Well, the gospel in a nutshell is this. The gospel is the work of Jesus Christ. His entire life, his suffering, his death, and his resurrection. And all of that is what gives us salvation by his grace alone. Nothing gets added to it, so that nothing gets taken away. Because that's the reality. If we think we need to add anything at all to what Jesus did on that cross for our salvation, then as Paul himself cries out in verse 20 of our text, Christ died for nothing. Think about that. Yet many of us struggle with this idea of salvation by grace alone. And maybe not so much with the idea that there's nothing I have to do, but I think more along the idea of there's nothing I can do. Many get offended by that idea. I think primarily because it's in direct conflict with what the world teaches, that you only get what you deserve. And people like to tie that into salvation as well. And if you think you're a pretty deserving person, well, you can see the slippery slope, huh? All I know is I'm just real thankful God doesn't treat me that way, or you. I'm glad I don't get what I deserve. What I'd like to do is to turn your attention to some really good questions that Serendipity raises in this study. Questions I think that get right to the heart of the issue, our issue with grace. They're in the Reflect section. What difference would it make to you if you had to earn your way to God by keeping God's law, by keeping the Jewish laws? Conversely, if you are a self-made person who likes to see everyone pay their own way or earn their fair share, how does this gospel of unmerited grace and favor strike you? Here's another one. What additions to faith might outsiders sense in your Christian circles regarding what they should or need to do to be approved? Not just by God, but maybe by you and me. And the last one here is, how can you help break down these barriers and avoid the performance trap? Kind of what we find out Peter got caught up in. These are not superficial questions. They raise all kinds of issues about hypocrisy and self-righteousness and spiritual pride. The church being a members-only club, not as concerned about people on the outside. They require some deep thought and reflection. Not only personal, introspective reflection, but reflection on the people that God has put in your life, especially those who don't know what you know about Jesus. As you spend this time together reading and studying this section about Peter's struggle with peer pressure, Paul calling him out in public, and then insisting that we live by faith, not by the law, but by the profound truth that Christ lives in us, ask yourself this one last question. How grateful am I, really, that I don't have to rely on my works, but rather I'm saved by the grace of God alone through faith in Jesus Christ. And that faith, my faith, even that is a gift from God. As you think on these things, and especially as you reflect on the people that God has put in your life to share his love with, to connect to Jesus Christ, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you his peace. Amen.